Hey guys, it's Mr. Crayfish and welcome back to another Model Creator Showcase. Today we are once again looking at a brand new update to the Model Creator and going over all the changes. I am going to be posting a video on my main channel doing like another model tutorial thing, but obviously on the second channel I like to kind of go over all the changes because I know you guys use my program and maybe some of you guys are heavy users of this program. You're going to want to know all the new changes so you can use my Model Creator effectively and to its full potential. And once again, I've got a list of changes. They're in no particular order, so let's get into this straight now. We've got a bunch of them to go through, so it's going to take a while, but I'm really excited to show off this update today because the program's finally in a stage where I felt like it should have been like 2 years ago, if not like, when I was actually developing it. It was like almost 3 years ago now, so it's crazy. But let's get into this right now. So first thing is we're going to take a look at the most obvious change. You might have seen it already. We actually have cardinal points on the grid now, so you can easily see which is north, east, south, and west. That's quite clear. Before, you would kind of have to use the compass down here, which I might remove in a future update because it's kind of pointless now that it actually says it on the grid here. But if you don't happen to like these, you can actually go to File, Settings, and turn them off here. Then you close that off and it gets rid of it. And it kind of looks like the previous version, but I like to have them on. It's a good indication and it helps out when you're texturing because you can easily determine which face is what side. Next feature is that selected faces are now highlighted. So I'm just going to go ahead, create an element here. So we'll do a 16 by 16 by 16. Nothing special about that. But if we go to faces here, you'll notice that we have north selected, and on the 3D view here, the north face is highlighted in red. So this is really useful as a visual indicator as to which side is selected. And if we go ahead and we change this around, so maybe like the west face or the up face, as you can see, we have it clearly selected. There is actually a new way as well to select faces. So on the UV editor over here, if we actually hover over the face, it will highlight it. So if we just go through all these, and then we go ahead and we click on it, that will actually update the selected face over to the right here and it will stay highlighted. So a really cool way, instead of using the drop down here, you can simply just select it over on the UV editor. You'll also notice when you actually highlight over the faces as well that the label on them will actually be more transparent. So when you do have a texture here, the word won't be blocking it as much and you'll be able to actually see under it. But let's go on to the next change here, and I'm going to set up a model here. Actually, let's just go ahead. Let's load up one of the example models here, the modern chair. This is a really cool change. So let's say you're creating a model and we had it facing this way. However, this was kind of like the wrong direction that I wanted the model to face. Well, now you can actually rotate it. So if you go to model here and you go to rotate, we can see we can rotate it either 90 degrees clockwise or 90 degrees counterclockwise. So let's click on that and it's rotated it clockwise and now it's facing to the left. We can go ahead and do that again. There is also some keyboard shortcuts. So as you can see, control right or control left. So I prefer the keyboard shortcuts because it's a lot quicker, and as you can see, we can just rotate it in any direction that we want. Something as well that's really cool is I've actually updated the icons in the program here, so you'll see that the undo and redo actually have the proper icons. I think the settings icon was updated as well. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I did change that. Anything else? Oh yeah, I changed around the optimize icon, so it looks a bit better, and I think that is that's pretty much it for that. Let's go on to the next feature right now. And oh yeah, one thing I kind of forgot to go over was if we have a look over to the left here, I've actually kind of improved how it looks over here. So we kind of have these squares with a slight darker outline around them, and I think it looks a lot more cleaner in the program. But yeah, just something very minor. But this next feature that we're going to look at, I would consider the flagship. Wait, what the heck happened to this UV? Up texture. Oh, did I? Wait, what's going on there? I didn't rotate that, did I? No, I didn't. How come that's saying it's rotate? Oh, I didn't rotate that, did I? Oh, what the? Is that? Oh, that's weird. I don't know what happened there. That was like the up textures like didn't rotate correctly. That's a bit concerning. I'll have to look into that. But let's head on to the next feature, and I would have to consider this the flagship feature of this update. And this is something the program needed for a very, very long time, and that is pretty much an overhaul of the texture management system. Because if you guys remember, in the model creator, it was pretty basic. All you could really do was just import a texture, and that's it. You couldn't reload it, you couldn't update it. Well, once it was in the program, you're pretty much done for. But now I've refactored the whole thing. I've wrote it from scratch, and it's insane. I would consider it probably the most powerful thing about my model creator now is the new texture management system. So let's go ahead. Let's just create a cube here, and we're going to start decorating this with some textures. And let's just go ahead, create an 8x8. And then we'll do 4 on each one there. All right, so we got like this cool cube in the middle there. Nothing really special about it, but let's go to faces here and let's start texturing this like we normally would. So I'm just gonna select the south face here. Let's click on texture, and this is gonna bring up the brand new texture manager. This thing is insane, and straight away off the bat, you can notice it's completely different. As I said, I wrote this from complete scratch. Everything is brand new. So now we're going to go ahead and add a texture. So let's click new texture, and it's going to bring up a file chooser where you just search for your texture. So I've extracted the assets and I've got all the textures here. Let's go ahead, let's select, we'll go ahead and select pink shulker box. What? All right, I'm just going to select red sand. Just thought I'd do that, and as you can see, it is loaded in the texture. And one thing that's cool about this new texture manager is we actually have labels now. So as you can see, this texture here is called red sand, but if we wanted to, we could change this to whatever we want. So you click on, let me just go back here, click on the texture, click on edit, and then you simply just change around the key here. So we could say this is going to be the base texture of it. So we're going to name it base. Press save, and then we'll go ahead, make sure that's clicked, click apply, and it's going to apply the texture. We can go ahead and click copy and then shift paste. And a lot of people don't know about this, but if you click copy, then you shift paste, it will paste the texture to all the faces. Let's go back into the texture manager. So the labels are good because let's say you're texturing your model, maybe instead of calling it base, maybe you have like, maybe you're creating like a custom crafting table or something like that. You could have like a texture for the legs. So maybe I'd call the texture for those legs so I clearly know what it is. And what's really cool about this is I can actually have another entry, right, with the same texture. So if I go red sand again, maybe I have something for a different part on the model, but I want to actually have two separate just in case in the future I actually want to change these textures around. I can. You can actually edit the textures as well. So maybe the leg texture here, I don't want it to be red sand anymore. So let's click edit, and we'll go ahead here where we can actually browse for the file. I want the texture to be anvil instead. So let's select anvil. It'll change it to anvil. It'll also update this value down here. The key won't change at all. It'll be whatever you set it as. Click on save, and it will simply update the texture. Really simple. And as you can see as well, it is actually updated on here. I think that was correct. Hold on, let's go ahead. Let's apply that and copy paste. And then if we go back to here, right? So as you can see right now, it is red sand. Let's actually change this around. Edit, browse. Let's go maybe something like just just bedrock, whatever. So we're going to change around the red sand to bedrock, and straight away it will actually update on the model here as well, which is really cool. So that's a really awesome thing, is like you can have duplicate textures in here, which is really great. Now this feature is not really useful if you're using Minecraft's textures, but if you've got custom textures, this will be really cool. So let's say, let's just go ahead, let's create a new texture, and I'm going to find one maybe like from like a mod, a boost pad. I guess we could use that. Oh, interesting. Do I want to use this? Oh god. I guess that leads us into another feature. I wasn't really finished. I wasn't really ready to go into the next one, but I actually fixed support for animated textures. So as you can see, we have the boost pad from my vehicle mod working. Let's go ahead, let's copy and paste this to all the faces. Hold up, let's click on that. Let's copy the south face, paste it. Oh god, that's weird. Hold up, where's the up face? Oh, that's weird. That's really weird. I wasn't intending, but yeah, animated textures are fixed. Alright, so to get back on track here, what I was actually intending to do was to add a custom texture, because this is where this feature would apply the most. You're not going to be really editing Minecraft's textures unless you actually overrode those textures. If you're just using the default textures, you're probably not going to use this feature because it's not going to affect it in game. But what I've got here is I started creating like a little basic texture here, nothing really special. Let's go ahead, let's save that, and I'm just going to put it onto the desktop. We'll put it as yellow square. I really don't know. This is like, maybe I'm like developing a mod or something like that, and we're creating custom textures for our block. So we created that. Let's go ahead, let's add that texture now. Alright, so I've loaded it into the game here, and let's go ahead, let's click apply, and let's copy this to all the faces. We'll also increase the UV as well of all these too, so it's like a full block. Alright, looking pretty cool, but I made a mistake. I didn't want it to be yellow. I actually wanted it to be green. So something we can do now is maybe instead of actually going to here, what you can do is press model up the top here, open up the texture manager. The only difference between opening it through there and opening it through here is that when you open it through the panel on the right here, that's where you can actually apply the texture. So you'll see there's a button that says apply, whereas going up here is just opening it in more of a general sense, in like maybe you're just wanting to edit a texture. Let's click on the yellow square here, let's click edit, and at the bottom left here we have a refresh button. So if we go back into paint.net here and we change around the color, maybe, as I said, I wanted this to be green instead. Let's paste that as green. Let's do save, and then we just minimize and we click on the refresh here. As you can see, it's been updated to green. Let's go ahead and press save. It's going to update the texture, and as well, you'll see on the model here, it has been updated to the new texture. How amazing is that? And to extend that even further, we can actually go to the texture manager here, click on this. Maybe we don't have paint.net open. Well, if we click on edit here, you'll notice next to the refresh button, we actually have an edit button. Now, you have to configure this. This is unfortunately a downside to this edit button, but I've actually already configured it. If we click edit here, we'll open up the texture straight into paint.net, so you can actually quickly edit the texture. Maybe there's some minor changes you want to make. You can just quickly click edit, close that off, and that's where you can refresh it. I'll go ahead, press save. But how do you actually configure that? Well, it's really simple. All you got to do is go to File, Settings, and then what you want to do is simply just browse for the exe file, so the executable file in your programs. You most likely want to keep the arguments here the same, so this will be the default thing that you guys will see. All you simply have to do is just browse for your favorite image editor program. So it can be Photoshop as well. So if I wanted to, I could browse for Photoshop and put that there instead. It's really simple. Highly suggest you configure this if you are using this program, because the ability to quickly edit the texture straight from the program. Just click there, opens it up, make some minor changes. Just do that, save it, press OK, close that off. Refresh is just one of the coolest things, in my opinion. Alright, we're not done with the texture manager. As I said, this is the flagship feature of this update, so there's a lot involved in this feature. We're just going to go ahead, we're going to click on one of these textures here, click on edit, and one thing we haven't looked at is this value field. Well, if you guys have seen a JSON model before, this bit here is that value field. So it's Minecraft, and then the location in the texture, the folder in the texture folder, and then the name of the texture. That is what that value field is. And then the key here is essentially this, the front here. So whatever's in here is the key, and that is the value. Now you can edit this. If you do click on it, it will say only edit this value if you are an advanced user. Changing this may cause the texture to not load in Minecraft. So if you're using vanilla textures, this will most likely be correct already. But if you do happen to change this, maybe I change this to like anvil yeet or something like that. This will no longer load correctly in Minecraft, and will most likely will 100% definitely come up with a missing texture. So only edit this if you know what you're doing. This is particularly useful if you are like a mod developer, or you're creating a custom resource pack that overrides the models, and you've got like custom textures. Maybe you have your own mod ID. So for instance, maybe like I load a texture from my desktop, which is for my like vehicle mod or something. Maybe that yellow square, right? If we go down here, this yellow square was actually a texture from my mod. You'll notice that it's pointing to the Minecraft's resource folder, which is bad because that's not where it's located. It's actually in my furniture mod folder. So I would instead change that to the mod ID of my furniture mod, and then the blocks folder, and that actually points to the correct value. So I just want to add on to this. I thought, I'm editing this right now, and I'm just going over what I said. And one thing to note about the value field is if you are developing a mod and you select the texture from your actual mod's assets folder, it will automatically generate the correct value there. So you don't actually have to put it in manually like I just shown there. That just happens to be if your texture is like on the desktop or something like that, and not in a valid Minecraft asset structure. So if you're already very familiar with models, this is not going to be anything difficult to understand. This is fool's play. This is basic modeling in Minecraft, is just fixing up the value here, but it should be correct straight away if you're using Minecraft textures. But if you're a mod developer, you might have to change that around. You can even do it later on when you export it. You can literally just go straight from here, fix it up there. But if you want to do it quicker, you can just do it inside of the model creator program, which is helpful. And then finally, you can also remove textures. It was pretty obvious. If we go ahead, we click on yellow square here, we click remove, bye square, it's gone, and it will also automatically remove it from the model as well. So any point where it's using that texture, it will remove it. We can go ahead and remove everything here. And yeah, there we go. That is all of the texture manager. Really, really great feature of this new update. All right. I was going to go on to fixed animated textures, but you guys have seen that already. I guess we could try it out real quickly. Let's go ahead. Let's load up like an animated texture from Minecraft. I'll go ahead. Assets. We'll go 1.12 and load up maybe like the fire texture. I think that's one that's good, and a good example, fire layer 2. Click on that, click apply, and as you can see, we have the fire texture working in the model creator. Really awesome. So basic feature. Oh yeah, this is something as well that I didn't actually cover before, but when you actually do edit the UVs now on them, let's get a different texture that's not as it's kind of hard to show it on an animated texture. Here we go. So when you're actually editing UVs now, it will actually only lock to the face you are actually editing. Previously, you could like drag your mouse down over the entire panel here, and it will edit, like it would just do some really weird behavior, but now it will actually only lock to the one you click on, which is really nice because I happen to be like rotating it, right? Think of like this scenario, you're rotating and then you drag it over this face and it starts editing the UV. That's kind of weird behavior. So it's now fixed, and it only applies when you actually click on the face. You have to click on the face before you can edit. If you click over here and then you drag there, it won't work. Another thing is if we go to model and then we go to display properties, we actually have an option at the top here to show the grid, show or hide the grid. This is helpful when it comes to actually creating the display properties, because the grid is a standard unit in the program. So this is actually a 16 by 16 grid, and that's what the actual size would be. The model that we've created inside is actually smaller. So if we were to actually, like scale this up by 2, right? Even though it kind of looks like the proper block size now, you can tell by the grid here that it's, 2 times its size. So it kind of gives you an indication of what the scale actually is. But if we turned off the grid, we can't really, figure out what the scale of this block is. So, that's helpful. You can turn, it's not like crucial really, but it's helpful in some ways, I guess. It's just an option. I thought I would add it in. The more options, the more better the program will be. And the last one is we now have the ability to export the models to Java code. Now, what is that Java code? Well, it's simply just collision and selection boxes. I find when I'm creating my mods that doing the selection and the collision boxes takes quite some time. Well, now the model creator cuts that time literally to seconds. And let's go ahead, let's load up something like the chair here, right? So we want to create the selection boxes and the collision boxes for this. And it's really easy. So if we go up to more here, go to mod developer, generate Java code. So this is mainly intended for mod developers only. If you're just like creating a resource pack, you don't need to worry about this, but we have the option to select a version. So you can select it for 1.12 or 1.13 because the code is actually different between these two versions. So let's go ahead, let's just do 1.13. We're going to generate the fields, we're going to generate the methods, we're going to copy this to a clipboard, and then we're going to go back here, let's just delete that, and then paste it in here, and it's given you all the code you need in order to add collisions and selection boxes to your models in the code. So this is 1.13 code. Is that what I did? I'm pretty sure I exported. I exported with 1.13, didn't I? So clipboard. Let me just double check that that's not glitched. So again, mod developer 1.12. This should be different. Yeah, it is. Okay, so that's 1.12 code, and then that is 1.13 code. So this simply just goes into your custom block class. It does everything for you, which is amazing. And this is going to be extremely helpful for me when I'm updating my furniture mod to 1.13 plus, because adding in all the collisions and converting into this new system is going to be insane. But now that I can actually use my program to generate all the code for me, it means I don't have to write out any of this. I can simply copy and paste, get it updated. And that means, quicker update to, mods. Maybe you're a mod developer updating. This is going to allow you to update it a whole lot quicker. And that's, that's better. I mean, you can't argue with that. That's so much better. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed that showcase. This update is amazing. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. I love your feedback on this program. Let me know what features you'd love to see that would help out with model creating, because I know you guys have ideas. So suggest ideas. I want to add them in. There is still some things that I do want to add in. I want to have the ability to actually be able to select the face in the model. So instead of actually clicking over here, you could click on the 3D view to select the current face. So if you have any ideas like that, let me know down in the comment section below. But this update is now available as well, so download link in the description. If you guys enjoyed this showcase video, I'd appreciate if you go ahead, drop a like down below, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.